Back at it. Good afternoon. This is Mr. Schatz. Uh, Today we will talk about properties of real numbers. Last time we talked about classifying real numbers. This time we're talking about properties. A little lecture. Uh, so first, we got the commutative property. Community property, like a lot of these, there's two versions of it. There's an addition version and there's a multiplication version. But let's just get into it. The community property has to do with how the order, well, that's not how you spell order, the order of values does not matter. So like an example would be A plus B equals B plus A. So whether you put it one way or the other, it should be the same thing. And then if you want a number example of this, I can put that in red. Let's keep switching. The number example would be like, just pick two numbers. 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. Right? That seems pretty straightforward. Let's get another black one in. And then so that's the addition one. And then the multiplication one would be I'm going to put X for times, but I don't know how that's going to read. So let's see, is there another way of doing this? Well, right there, A times B equals B times A. And then we can get in a red version. Oh, let's keep that black. There you go. Let's do a new one. Let's make that one red. And then the red one can be, let's pick two numbers. Let's do 4 times 5 equals 5 times 4. That's pretty straightforward. The associative property, again, has an addition and a multiplication version. The associative property would mean the grouping of values does not matter. The grouping of values. So again, let's do two examples. The first example can be addition. Let's change this to red. Oh, this guy to red. There it is. There it is. Okay, cool. Now the example would be like, let's say we have parenthesis A plus B in parentheses, and then add a third term. And then add a third term C. And that would be the same as if we kept the A on the outside and then we grouped B plus C. So that's going to be my generalized one. And then let's do a example in red. And this could be just pick any three numbers. Let's do 2 plus 6. Let me put a parenthesis around that. I apologize. 2 plus 6 plus 1 is the same as saying 2 plus 6 plus 1 in parentheses. Just listening to my words would not be like the best option because obviously when I just say words, it just sounds like I'm saying the same thing. But so you got to look up and, figure it out. And then the same thing goes for multiplication. So we can do A times B in parentheses times C is the same as A times B times C in the parentheses. Same thing. And then let me put a red example underneath it. We can use the same three numbers or different ones. I'm gonna use a variable this time. So what if we did 9 times, let's put that in parentheses, 9 times 4 times y is the same as saying 9, how did I write that? So that 9 times 4 times y. Same thing, same idea. And then we just keep chugging along. So again, the black is the generalized one, and the red is more of a example with numbers because you guys love numbers. Let's turn back to red. I always forget to tap off and turn it red. So the identity property. The identity property just means that the number is going to stay. I'll just keep pressing space. Same. The number is going to stay the same. So if I had a variable a and I wanted to keep a to stay the same, what would I add to it to keep it to be A? Well, oops, that's supposed to be an equal sign. Well, A plus what equals A? Does A plus 0 equal A? I'd say so, with my professional opinion. So that's it. And then let's do the same thing. We can do the same thing with a number. Let's do negative. Oh, that's not what you. Negative 12. Negative. There it is. Negative 12 plus 0 equals negative 12. Pretty straightforward. And then we can do the same thing, but let's do it with multiplication. So A times what equals A? Well, what do you got to times a number by to keep it the same? Most people would say A times 1 equals A. So if that's true, which it is, let's just do another example. Let's do 9. 9 times, oh, that's an 8. That works too. 8 times 1 equals 8. I know it seems like I'm running through this, but that's because I want this video to be short and sweet, and just for purposes of hearing someone speak as you write down notes. Because I know just writing down notes could be daunting, and you don't really pick up what you need to know. So that's the first 3 properties, and let's just keep on chugging. The inverse property. When you guys think inverse, what do you guys think? Some say the opposite, and I would agree with them. The inverse property also works with multiplication and division. Let me change this to red. I didn't mean to just turn that red. I apologize. I'm all over the place. Everywhere but where I'm supposed to be. All right, let's go back here. The inverse property would just, in a way, it would just cancel it out. So, and how do you cancel something out? You got to use the opposite term. That's not how you spell opposite. You got to use the opposite term to cancel out the value. So if I say, what's the opposite of A? You have to add the opposite of A. Opposite of A is just negative A, and that equals 0. An example with numbers would be, let's make this one red. There it is. Let's see. So we have a number 5. What's the opposite of 5? Well, the opposite of 5 is negative 5. So 5 plus negative 5 equals 0. Now this one might be tricky because I know a lot of people don't really like working with it. But everybody knows, a lot of people, not everybody, I don't want to just assume. A lot of people know that the opposite of multiplication is division. But another way of looking at it is you just, you multiply by, so you're going to multiply it kind of by a division sign. So what do you multiply this by? You multiply, so it's A times, do 1. I know it's going to look ugly and weird, but it's going to be 1 over A. And let me make a little line to say that this is a fraction. 1 over A. That was a very straight line, guys. You should be very impressed by me. And that equals 1, right? A times 1 over A equals 1. And then if you want an example with numbers, which most people do, I'll get you an example for that one. I'll do a simple one, just kind of just like put it in the brain. 2 times 1 over 2. Again, ugly fraction, I apologize. 2 times 1 over 2, or 2 times 1/2, is the same as it equals 1, right? You have 2, and then divided by 2, you get 1. Almost there. Almost done-ish. Property of 0. Property of 0 is pretty simple. Property of 0 just says, if you multiply by 0, it always equals, you guessed it, 0, right? Multiply anything by 0, you get 0. And the generalized term would be A times 0 equals 0. Or let me throw a few examples at you. Again, the examples will be in red. You can do negative 1. Let's do negative 2 times 0 equals 0. That's one example. Or we can do even a variable. We can do n times 0. Let's do 2n, because 2n is fancy. 2n times 0 equals 0, right? And then you can just do even a simpler one, just 9 times 0 equals 0. Anything times 0 equals 0, right? Moving along. We have distribution. People like distribution. It's fun. I get that. And I've worked with a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I love distributing." Distributing. I kind of emphasize that way, but so distributing means multiplying a value inside parentheses. Let me put a space in there so you know. Multiplying value inside parentheses. So an example would be, so if you had A times B plus C, that would equal, many of you guys would say you distribute the A to the B, and you still add it to the, and then you add it to the product of A times C. So an example, let's do it in red. We can do, let's do 4 times -1 plus, let's do U, because I like to throw a variable in there sometimes, because these are not all going to be expressions. They're not going to all be equations or something like that. They might have variables or unknowns. So this would be the same as saying 4 times -1 plus 4 times U. And then we can simplify that to -4, right? Plus 4U. So that's just the simplified version right underneath it. All right. It's just, you just got to remember to distribute the A to the B and the A to the C. 3 more for now, and then we are done. Yes. Nah, I think we're good there. And then my next one will be on the next page. So I appreciate you guys listening in, and I can't wait to check your homework on this, because that means you'll learn something. Are you done? And I get to redirect you, which is fun. So see you next time. All right, bye.